Hey guys, so today we are creating 3 of my favorite characters from Thor Ragnarok. This movie is so much fun. It's so funny. I love the villain. I love the new Thor. Chris Hemsworth's haircut is everything. I love these cakes, so let's get started. Now the first thing I did was bake my cakes. I baked them in a 6x10 inch cake pan that I found at the 99-cent store. I decided to bake red velvet, chocolate, and an almond flavored cake. All of these cakes went through the exact same process. First, I created a template that looks like a generic looking person, kind of like a gingerbread man of sorts. I placed my printout on top of all of my cakes and I just cut them out using my IKEA parrot knife. 150, you guys? Do you guys know that already? I'm pretty sure you know that already. This is the same template that I used to create Spider-Man. I want to do a whole slew of characters and my goal is to do all of the characters that are going to be involved in Infinity War. That is a long to-do list, you guys, but I think I can do it. Once I finished cutting them out, I removed all of the excess, took off my template, and then took off the first layer of cake. Then I took the bottom half and placed it onto my cake stand. I filled each of the cakes with some buttercream. Red Velvet got cream cheese buttercream, but the rest of them just got vanilla. Placed on my top layer of cake, and then I just started to carve away at it. And I wanted the head of the cake to be kind of round, almost like a dome shape, but not completely spherical. I still want it to be kind of flat, just rounded around the edges. For his body, I just cut away some of the cake so that you could distinguish his arms and his legs from the rest of his body. Can't really find his legs though, they're just like 2 little humps. I really like carving this because it's super simple and really generic, but you can turn this into so many different characters. All of these cakes got a crumb coat with the exact same buttercream that's on the inside. Now I did give this a second coat of buttercream, but that was just to fix all of the problem areas and all of the places where I carved out a little too much. It's not like a full layer of buttercream, it's just sort of like a fix-it layer. Probably gonna see this footage of cake just recycled in the future when I create all the other characters, because if I don't have to shoot it again, I'm gonna save me some time. And once you're finished with the base of the cake, you can start to create all of your Thor characters. I actually had to sit down and draw each of the characters, which is one of my favorite things. I used to draw a lot when I was younger. I don't do it anymore because most of my stuff is in cake form. I just started to translate all of the different character features into this small, cute, cartoonish looking form. I kind of had to find a balance between the detail and the cartooniness of this cake. I even bought the toys so I could see how all of the armor on the character fits onto the character. That's kind of what I've been telling myself, but I'm pretty sure I bought the toys because I wanted the toy. After I finished drawing the Hulk, I took my cake out of the fridge and covered it with a huge piece of green fondant. If you want to see more Hulk stuff, I did Hulk's face and the tutorial is really funny. The entire video is like my impression of Hulk making a baking tutorial. Some people found it annoying. I thought it was hilarious. Now with my fingertips, I'm just going to press the fondant against the cake and just push it into all of the different crevices. Make sure it gets around his neck, his arms, and his legs. After I used my fingers, I just used some fondant tools to give them some more definition. Then I took the fondant into the bottom of the cake and just cut off the excess with an X-Acto knife. Tear away all the extra fondant, and now we can start to create the Hulk. Now I'm using some green fondant to give him a huge chest. This guy lifts like 350 tons? Yo, do you even lift, bro? I decided to take some more green fondant and give him a 6-pack, even though he probably has like an 8-pack. That's possible, right? Yeah, that's probably possible. When I started to build his gladiator armor, I just used hints of purple and gray to create his shorts. Now all of my little fondant pieces are going to be glued together with a little bit of magic sauce. A baker without magic sauce is lost. And then I added this awesome belt. This is kind of where you can tell the compromise in the detail because there's not as much detail in my belt buckle as there is on my toy. After that, I added his gladiator shoes, which look really cool. I've seen a lot of girls at Sephora wear these. They don't realize it, but every time I see them I think of Hulk. All of these pieces are just made with different colored fondant so that it looks as authentic as my toy. Then I started to create the armor for his arms using the exact same color. One has a brown bronzy color and the other arm is silver or gray, whatever you want to use. Use whatever you like. And using 2 brown pieces of fondant, I created 2 belts that cross his chest from left to right. And then I added his armored shoulder pad. Then I took another piece of brown fondant and placed it on his head to create his helmet. I'm just using the same color fondant to create all of the different detail that goes on. It takes a lot of time to cut out all of these different strips, but it's totally worth it. Then I added on his eyes and gave him a very angry facial expression because
Hulk, always angry.
Then using some white food coloring, I painted on his war paint, his battle paint. I love painting, man, and this looks pretty bomb. And voila, our Thor Ragnarok Hulk is complete. Now let's move on to my next favorite character, Hela. Hela was freaking awesome. She's arguably the best Marvel villain so far. She's my favorite villain anyways. I was glad that Cate Blanchett was able to execute some awesome battle sequences, even though it probably was all just CGI. Now after I finished drawing her, I took my cake and covered it in some skin tone fondant. This is like dirty, pale skin tone fondant. In the movie, her skin's very fair. You know, she's a goddess of death, so she always looked like she did. I'm just pushing the fondant into all of the different crevices, taking some more fondant tools to emphasize her chin, her arms, legs, just like Hulk. Then I'm just gonna cut away the excess with my paring knife. Pulling all of that away, I just placed on another layer of fondant to give her her bodysuit. Now the second piece of fondant is like too thick. Go figure, it's my cake. If you're gonna recreate this, roll it out thinner. Roll it a lot thinner. Now you could create the head and the body separate, but I really wanted to build this like a character. This second piece of fondant was not fondant, it was like fabric to create Hela's costume on top of her dying body. I pulled away the excess and just started to create the rest of her outfit. This is fairly simple because Hela's costume is really only 2 colors, but the second color really has this intricate design. So after placing some black fondant to create her sleeves, I cut out the rest of her detail with my X-Acto knife. And I just took my time making sure that all of the different pieces were perfect. Now creating the 2 green pieces for her leg was my favorite part of this cake. It took a lot of time because this is the most intricate part, but each of these pieces looked more like Asian characters than just decoration. Which part of Asia? I don't know. The cool part though. I placed on her chest plate and then some little details to create her neckline and then a belt. Then I placed on another piece of black fondant to create her headdress. This piece definitely should have been thinner. But it's hard because I was rolling out the fondant for all 3 cakes. So when I was doing this, my goal was just like speed and not thickness. It was like roll out as much as you can as fast as possible. I should have taken my time, I know. But Justice League like comes out in like 3 weeks? What? I have like Justice League cakes I want to do. I placed it onto her head, cut off the excess with my paring knife. Now there is some detail in this headdress and I wanted to make sure that it didn't get lost. So the larger pieces of fondant that covered her body and her head are actually not black. They're a very deep charcoal gray. That way when I start applying the black fondant pieces to her headdress, you can actually see all of the different detail. After I finished that, I added on some evil eyes. Cause this woman is cray-cray. Gave her a spin and then added on the rest of her headdress. Now I created 2 drawings, so there is another drawing with this headdress. All of my different pictures are in the description box if you want to recreate this cake. Make the cake, sell it. Lord knows I'm not gonna sell it. Make it for your son's birthday or your daughter's birthday or even grandma, Mima. Some Mimas like that. After I finished that, I gave her a sad face because she's sad, she's angry. Her life is terrible, she's a goddess of death. I just stopped myself from giving you a spoiler. But she does have a lot going for her. Her power set is badass. We've got one more cake to go. Thor. I love this version of Thor. Thor's my favorite Avenger. I didn't realize it until he took his shirt off. His character has evolved so much from the first time we met him. Now I'm curious, if you've seen Thor Ragnarok and the last two movies, what do you think about the way that they've changed him? Do you like how the character's evolving, or do you want them to stay closer to the comic book? I love all of the different color in his armor. Ooh, and those washboards. And I like the way that they interpreted the wings on the helmet. Now after I finished drawing him, I covered my entire cake in some bright skin tone fondant. I wanted to make sure that I was using different colored fondant for Hela and Thor. Hela looks like she's just straight out of melanin, and Thor looks like he's just tanning all day in that Aussie sun. The washboards, man. Now after I finished separating the different features with my fingers and some fondant tools, I just cut away the excess with my paring knife. I added another piece of black fondant to create his battle armor. With a paring knife, I just cut away the excess to reveal his arms and his legs. Now I did give him another piece of black fondant just to emphasize his chest plate and just give his abs a little bit more detail. I'm adding a brown belt and some detail to his neckline. I love the turquoise that they used to create his legs. Now with some brown fondant, I'm creating different straps just using a pizza cutter. Now I'm curious, do you guys have better ways of cutting fondant straps, like really thin fondant straps? Because this took forever. It was hard to get them all the same size. Now I used some gray fondant to create some armor for his arms, some red to create his cape, and then just added some turquoise fondant to give him his shoulder armor. Just a few more details, and then I moved on to his helmet. To create his helmet, I first added on some turquoise fondant. Dude, I really do love this color. What color is it? Turquoise? I guess, like a dark turquoise? I don't know. Then I added some more gray fondant to give his helmet detail. Now this is supposed to be silver, but I really didn't want to use luster dust. I really wanted these pieces to look cartoonish as opposed to realistic. And then I added the wings, which aren't actually wings, they're just whatever these are. You can't see it, but there's actually two toothpicks holding both of the wings up at the back. I didn't give these enough time to crust, so without the toothpicks, these would have fallen already. I'm using an icing tip just so I know exactly where the eyes should be, and then I realized that I put them too far apart. I added some red fondant to create his face tattoo. Then I added in his eyes, his smile, and that good looking beard. And then with a paintbrush, I just painted on some more battle paint. And you can also do this with his eye, but I was too scared I was gonna screw up, so I was like, I'll just do this part in fondant. And I did add a red cape. I just placed some red fondant underneath the cake. Once you're finished with that, voila, Thor, God of Thunder. I love these cakes. My only regret is that I created these cakes before I watched the movie, and I didn't realize how much I liked Loki and Valkyrie. Tessa Thompson is bae. She'd be a good drinking buddy. Now if you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm curious, what do you think about Thor getting married at the end of the film? And all of the Avengers are there, and Captain America and Iron Man are like, you know what, let's just stop fighting and let's just... The end. That was it. Am I lying? I don't know. Did you watch the movie? But seriously, go watch it. It's the feel-good comedy of the fall. It literally is. Now, if you want to see more cakes like this, I've got a Baby Groot cake and a Spider-Man cake. I'm going to be creating all of my favorite characters for Infinity War. This to-do list is so long, but I've got like 5 or 6 months, so I think it's doable. Now I hope you guys enjoyed this. Make sure you check out my entire Marvel playlist and hit that notification button so that you can see all of my creations in real time. It's before the video comes out, which is why some of y'all are mad, because you see the picture and I didn't edit the video yet, so you're yelling at me, and I'm sorry, you guys. I love you guys. I'll see you very soon. Peace!